Welcome back! Today we're going to be making these really pretty macrame cherry blossom flowers. And don't forget to take a screenshot of the pattern details. Now let's get started. Now if you've been following me for a while, you may have noticed that these flowers look oddly similar to my previous tutorial. And that's because it is, only we're making a few alterations regarding the back and the centers. If you'd like to reference my original pattern, I'll leave the link above. So let's get started on the first petal. Working with 3 strands of cord at one time, you're going to lie one across, and then with your second strand, we're going to attach it onto our first using a reverse lark's head knot. On a side note here, I would like to point out that this project is excellent for using up that scrap pieces of cord that you have lying around. And this project even works well with any size of cord, as well as even yarn. Alright, so attach your third cord using another reverse lark's head knot. To do so, you make a loop and then you place your tail ends through that loop. Next, we're going to be tying a square knot using the 4 center cords. To do this, make a loop with your left cord. With the right cord, you want to place that on top, behind, and through the loop of your left. Cinch up your slack all the way up to the top. And then we're going to repeat the same thing, but in reverse. So make a loop on your right. And then with your left cord, you want to place that over top, behind, and through the loop of your right. And then cinch up your slack all the way up to the top. Okay, so now we're going to divide our work directly in half and get the right side up and out of the way. Take your very top left cord and you want to hold that in your right. This is going to be our filler cord. And we're going to tie what I call a gathering double half hitch knot around this cord. So you want to take the first cord in line and make a loop. And then you want to pull your tail end through the loop twice. And that is a double half hitch knot. But instead of dropping your working cord, you're going to gather it also into your right hand. And with the next cord, you're going to tie a double half hitch knot around both those 2 cords. This is why I call it a gathering double half hitch knot, is because you were tying around both of them together. Okay, so that's the first side done. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. So grab your last cord that's at the top, and you want to tie a double half hitch knot around the first cord by looping it around. And you want to repeat and make another loop to complete your double half hitch knot. And then instead of dropping it, gather it into your left hand this time. And then with your next cord, you want to tie your another double half hitch knot around both those 2 cords. I just very well may be the only person that calls this technique a gathering double half hitch knot. Anyways, grab any 2 cords at the bottom and we're going to tie one more double half hitch knot just to close in that gap. Now here's where the pattern differs from my previous tutorial. Instead of leaving our petal as is, what we're going to do is we're going to snip off the excess cord, leaving about a ½ centimeter of a tail. Just be careful not to cut it too close. Now what we have to do is repeat the same process all over again 4 more times for a total of 5 petals. Now we're going to work on the centers, and I'm going to show you how to make the pom pom and these little stamens. Grab 3 small pieces of scrap single strand cotton rope as well as your butcher's twine. Place your butcher's twine down and then lie your scrap pieces of cord on top. Then grabbing the ends of our butcher's twine, we're going to tie a double overhand knot around our scrap pieces of single strand cotton. And be sure to cinch it up fairly taut, you don't want this slipping out. With a fine tooth comb, you want to give it a good brush. And because it kind of stays in like this mustache form, I want it to close. So to do that, I like to add a little bit of hot glue. Be careful not to burn yourself like I did, and then trim the ends. And that is how you make this wispy little pom-pom center for your flower. Next, we're going to make the stamens. And to do this, we're going to need a different kind of rope. I found this at my local Walmart, but what you want is a stiff cord that is a little bit waxy. I'm not sure what kind of cord this is, but it does have a jute type feel to it. Anyways, what we're going to do is tie a barrel knot. Now, I didn't even cut my cord, I'm just working with what I have. And what we're going to do is make a loop, making sure you have a little bit of a tail end. And with that tail, you want to thread it through that loop 5 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th time. If it doesn't look like a mess, then you're doing it wrong. Next, pull it really fast, and then you're left with a barrel knot. And I'm telling you, speed is the key to get the perfect barrel knot. See how it's coiled around perfectly? Next, we're just going to snip it off right close to our barrel knot. Okay, so let's do it again. Make a loop, wrap your tail end through the loop 5 times, and then pull taut really fast. These things are addictive to make. But I like to make 3 per flower. You can make more if you like, but once you have as many as you like, what you want to do is tie them all together with an overhand knot. Now, I like to make some flowers with just the pom-pom and others with the stamens, but for this tutorial, I'm going to do one that has both of them together. So to put them both together, what I'm going to do is put a little bit of hot glue on the back of my pom-pom, and then I'm going to fan out my stamens and place it right on top of that hot glue. And that's how I joined my 2 centers together. Next, we're going to build our flower. Run a little bit of hot glue down the side of your petal, and then join it with another petal, folding it inwards. I like to join 3 at a time and then add my stamen into the middle. To add your stamen, you want to go ahead and put quite a bit of hot glue in the center so that it nestles down right snug in the middle. Then finish it off by joining your other petals together. Now these are super cute as is, but what we're going to do is we're going to make a branch. I'm using 2 wooden dowels for mine, one at 12 inches and the second at 6 inches in length. However, you can use a thick gauge crafting wire if you like, or you can even use wooden skewers. All I have is wooden dowels, so that's what we're going to use today. And I'm also going to be testing out this new cord that I purchased off of Amazon. So we're going to unpackage this together and use it for the first time. And we're going to be able to compare it with the cord that I used for my flowers. The rope I used for my flowers was from Rope Shop, which is a very high quality Canadian brand rope company. And as you can tell with this brown, it's definitely not 3mm. It's a lot rougher, and it is not the correct color that I expected it to be. I was expecting it to be a light brown when I purchased it, but in reality, it is quite dark, which is fine for this project. It'll do. Okay, so what I'm doing here is making what looks like a little wig for my wooden dowel. This is the technique I like to use when I am wrapping the ends. I like to hot glue some scraps to the end, and then I take my long strand and hide it underneath, folding my wig pieces over top. And then I add a little bit of hot glue, and then I start to wrap around my wooden dowel. And I find that this really helps make it seamless. It does make the end of my wooden dowel a little bit more bulbous. However, it works well with this project because branches typically have nodules on them, so it just makes it a little bit more realistic. Or at least that's my point of view. Anyways, I'm going to keep adding a little bit of hot glue and wrapping until I reach the point where I want to attach the smaller branch. I did go ahead and do the same thing to my smaller branch, and I didn't finish it off at the end there. To join them together, there's really no graceful way for me to demonstrate, but in reality, I just tie them both together with the 2 ends, and I tie just a regular overhand knot to secure them together. Once they're tied together, what I like to do is hold it into a position where I want the branch to kind of branch outwards. And then I use the cord to wrap it around in a figure 8 type of pattern and secure it with hot glue. Again, there really isn't a graceful way for me to demonstrate this. It all really boils down to just kind of playing around with it and manipulating the rope to get it to hold the way that you want it to hold. As far as this Amazon rope goes, it's it's not bad. It has its place. I've always favored Rope Shop's products because it's locally sourced and manufactured here in Canada, and I'm kind of partial to that. But I'm not a rope snob either. I do appreciate other products made elsewhere as well. If inexpensive Amazon rope is what you can afford and that gets you into the door of macrame, then that is awesome in my books. Okay, so once your branch is completed, it's time to arrange your flowers in a position where you like them. Once you're happy with your positioning, what we're going to do is snip off your tail ends in the back, add some hot glue, and then just stick it down onto our branch. Okay, so this is beautiful on its own, but what you can do with this is add this branch into another wall hanging, or what you could do is you could take a hoop and attach this branch onto your hoop and secure it, and then it's its own separate wall hanging, or you can just add the individual flowers into separate pieces of work. Feel free to check out my macrame flower playlist. I'll leave the link on the screen now, and I'll see you over there.